Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to this evening's Board of Education workshop or work session meeting. Please excuse me here. Today's Thursday, June 29th, Ross Board of Education work session. Mrs. Logan, could you please call the roll?
Mrs. Hayes,
Here.
Mr. Kleinfelter,
Present.
Mr. Schnell,
Here.
Mrs. Webb,
Here.
Mr. Van Winkle.
Here. Turn the floor right over to you, Dr. Kunkel.
Thank you, sir. Before we get into tonight's session, I just kind of wanted to talk to the board about the next couple work sessions. So July, August, we're looking at giving two presentations. One, an update on our test scores. I'm not quite sure if that'll be July or August. The second item will be an update on our business operations plan. I think that we'll be overly surprised with how much detail we went into looking at each of our components in our district and how much money we can potentially save. So business operations and test scores the next 2 months. So tonight we got Mr. Beck here to give us an update on our athletic program, and I'm going to turn over to Mr. Beck. Thanks for coming.
Test. Perfect. Everybody hear me? Good. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to kind of give a spring recap, but also a holistic athletic department recap for the 2022-2023 year. Obviously, it was a year of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change, a lot of trials and tribulations, but I can honestly say that it went far better than I would have expected, given all those road bumps that we were dealt and faced throughout the school year. So I'm going to go kind of backwards or non-traditional as far as my presentation today, because the spring, you hear the horror stories of spring athletics and all that goes into it, between Mother Nature not cooperating, between cancellations because you have an obligation to league games versus non-conference games. So anyways, I'm starting with thank yous of individuals because spring is just so different than the other two seasons that I experienced. And first and foremost, I'm going to kind of sandwich them top and bottom, not saying that the others aren't important, but Tina Sefton and her ability to adjust and adapt on the fly with transportation, just a remarkable job. And quite frankly, when you couple the fact that it's the spring season with the transportation shortage, we had every event covered except for two as far as on the road. Our road trips, and that's a huge credit to her and her organizational system, and giving us the ability to get to our contests sometimes 30 minutes before the game was scheduled. We'd call and say, hey, we're moving it here because our field's not playable, or vice versa, and she just did a remarkable job. So I wanted to kind of single her out and sing her praises because she's awesome. So the next three I've kind of grouped together: Amy, Tom, and Mickey. Everybody who is familiar with Ross Athletics knows the critical role that those three play in our department functioning. We had, I don't even know the number of track meets again this spring. I feel like we break a state record every year as far as the number of track meets we host, some of which aren't even our own events. And those three make it possible. They don't hesitate at all to step up. I can share, as of this morning, Amy Fisher was on campus helping scrub down the showers in the middle school locker room. She is just a team player through and through, and Tom and Mickey also do that. The next one is Jake Richards. It's no secret, running events, running contests, running whatever running involved it could be involved with, Jake loves. And he ran every single one of our track meets, including the district track meet, which is probably the biggest event that the athletic department hosts throughout the school year. Hosting the OHSA track meet at the Division I level is no small task. You have teams coming from 50 miles away all the way down here to our campus. And it comes down to logistics, and year in and year out, the reviews of that are just remarkable. Every single track official, spectators, they all speak about the experience that they have at our track meets. And I think the number we had this year was 12. Which, for perspective, most schools maybe host 2. Some schools host 0. So to host that many contests, that many track events, I got to thank him, because simultaneous to that, we have softball and baseball going on. So managing that with him, huge thanks to him. The next two I'm going to group together. Christina and Gail, again, very familiar names if you know Ross Athletics. Those two made the concession stand work with that crazy schedule that we had in the spring. Christina was new to kind of assisting, I guess, in an official capacity with our athletic boosters. And I think out of those 12 track contests or track invitationals, I think she was at all but one of them for free. Zero compensation, just because she wants to help out. And Gail, if you've been involved with the Ross Athletic Boosters, Gail Withrow, I mean, she is the wizard of concession stand, and even expanded her offerings this year to include Chick-fil-A. We sold 180 Chick-fil-A in like a 45-minute stretch, which is pretty insane. It's kind of a cult following. If Chick-fil-A is there, you have to buy it, and everybody did it very quickly. Coupled with that, I do want to say that not only are these our events, we actually got called 3 days prior to the GCL not having a venue for their contest, and within 24 hours we had secured all of those people to execute another conference's track meet because they were in a difficult situation, and we were able to accommodate them, which assisted our finances as well. So that was a good thing. And then finally, last but not least, and I could talk about her impact for hours on end because I work with her directly on a daily basis. Megan's selflessness, her accessibility, she's the backbone behind the department, and especially this year when you couple the time commitments of an athletic secretary with being a bookkeeper during our participation fee, our collection times, she was awesome. So I hope Megan knows how much I appreciate her, and I try to convey it consistently, but one more thanks to her. But that group right there, just remarkable people and huge impact on the spring. So jumping into our spring sports, had a really good spring. I don't care what the numbers say when we talk about the All Sports Trophy here in a second. Baseball had a 20-plus win season in Coach Vogeley's first year as head coach. Great job, great representatives of the athletic department, especially taking over in a first-year head coaching situation. It's always difficult. He put together a great staff, and they had a great year. They finished second in the league and had the chance to win the league in the last week. So we had a chance to win a league title. In baseball, similar story in softball. Softball got second place, which is an increase or an improvement from last year where they were tied, or they finished in third, I'm sorry. So they tied for second this year, an improvement of one position from last season. And the crazy part about that is their team or their roster was super small. I believe it was 14 with 6 freshmen. And anytime you're going into a season with freshmen on the field, that says something. It either says your freshmen are really, 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 really good, or your numbers are a little bit down. In our situation, it was more that our freshmen are really good, but also our numbers were down. So our freshmen had to make an impact, and they did. But I don't want to neglect the seniors. Our senior leadership, carrying freshmen along in a varsity season is a difficult task. And to finish second place, and again, they had a chance to win the league. In the last week, they run-ruled Harrison, who won the league easily against the rest of the foes in our conference. And they run-ruled Talawanda within a 4-day stretch. Great games. I was at both of them. Super, super exciting. And Coach Luckett's done a tremendous job of continuing the tradition of Ram Ball. And good things, like I said, with 6 freshmen, good things are certain to come. Tennis celebrated its first championship in the spring season ever that I can identify at least. Mr. Kleinfelder, I don't know if you can deny that, but as far back as I can go history-wise, we have not won a spring season championship in tennis. Coach Bolin, we all know Coach Bolin, incredible educator, incredible coach, produced the championship team for the first time. And watching them celebrate that, knowing that they were a part of something that nobody can take away from them. Winning a title is obviously critical. It's awesome. It's a great experience. But saying you were the first to do it means a lot more, I think. And I think all the individuals, whether they were varsity or JV, really feel like they were a part of that championship. So kudos to those 3 teams. Last but not least, our track team. And this is, I'll get into a little bit about why I don't really worry about the finish so much. You see 6th and 5th, and we'll see it here in a couple slides. The spring season, our numbers were decimated. Our numbers just got absolutely crushed. Obviously, in large part due to the participation fee. Our number of three-sport athletes went down by almost 90%, and the majority of time in high school track, your athletes are not track first. Now, we do have a couple, and that's great, but the majority of them, track becomes the second or third sport. So, although it is a 6th and 5th place finish, track, as far as standings, is a numbers game. You have to have participants to score in events, and we just didn't have the roster to score in these events. We had individuals running 3 and 4 events, whatever the maximum is for that level of race, night in and night out, some of whom jumped into events that they had never been a part of in their life, and they did it just to try to get their team some success and experience. So I think the numbers ended up around 13 for the track team this year at the high school level, and we were pushing 60 to 70 last year. So obviously, you can understand the hit that took, but at the same time, we are going to talk about some successes from the track team individually here in just a second. I did want to touch base on this as far as the numbers and some context. So we did finish the 2022-2023 SWAC All Sports Competition in 3rd place by 4.5 points. Harrison won it, and Talawanda just a half point ahead of us. Obviously, we would love to have had 1st place. We would have absolutely loved to have had first. We went into the spring in first by a narrow margin. But again, when you look at the numbers game that is forced upon us in these in this specific competition, it would have been virtually impossible to really cement that. Not making an excuse, it's just the reality of our situation. So we were, to give some context on how close that championship could have been flipped. So obviously 4.5 points. If we finished 2 places higher in boys track and 2 places higher in girls track, we're a half point out of 1st place, which is typically where our average finish is in track is 3rd place. So those 2 alone put you right there. We had 4 sports throughout the year that were 1 game away from a league title, which takes it from a small loss to a relatively decisive victory, because there's also a bonus point for winning the league title. So you can see the margin there between us and the next team, Edgewood. That's a super, super tight race as far as the All-Sport Trophy, and I'm really proud of our teams, given all that we've been through this year, for representing Ross in a positive light and doing it at a high level as well. We'll go ahead and touch base on some individual accolades. First team all-conference, you see him there on the board. Baseball had 3 of them: Austin Parker, Ben Vogley, and Mitch Naring. Again, a great year. Ben Vogley was a returning all-leaguer. Austin Parker was not all-league last year, so a great jump there. And then Mitch Naring had a phenomenal year on the mound for our baseball program. Looking at softball, Addie Johnson, Elena Crouch winning pitcher of the year, and then Emily Brunner. And I spoke to it earlier, but if you look at the softball group in particular, you love to see seniors ending their high school career on a high note. And I talked about their leadership. Those 3 together did a great job along with their teammates and other seniors. Going to the top right there, touching base on boys tennis. I was fortunate enough to go watch our conference tournament up at Miami University. And the intensity of a tennis tournament, I don't know how many have had the opportunity to go to the Western Southern and Mason. And I'm not going to say that a high school tennis tournament had that much intensity, but it was crazy knowing what was on the line. And the all-league finish in tennis and track is based on how you finish in your conference tournament. So Jack Johnson won his first singles tournament. Carter Payton, Sam Davidson won their doubles. And then I do this just because she doesn't want me to recognize her. Jerry Bolin was Coach of the Year. Now she's going to probably come in through this door and say it was the other coaches as well. Those are her assistants, Chris and Cassie Saylor. But Jerry Bolin, I don't know what the record is for Coach of the Year recognition, but she's got to be pushing it, and we're going to make it up if it isn't actually a thing. So kudos to the tennis success. And then track and field. Maya Bose, we know what she's done in the past, and she certainly continued her own legacy this year. She finished first in 100 and 300 hurdles in our conference tournament. And then I believe that was the night she also just ran an event just because, while winning easily. So I would I can't imagine just trying something new just because, but she did it and she won. She got first team all SWAC in the 100 and 300 hurdles. We'll talk more Maya Bose right here. So she did finish runner-up in the 300 hurdles, which is definitely Maya's go-to event. Third place both her freshman and sophomore season, so an increase of one position. And ironically enough, throughout all of that, she finished runner-up to the same girl, both freshman, sophomore, and junior year. That individual is committed to the University of Kentucky to run, so obviously some high talent there. And then Maya finished 7th in the 100 hurdles, which was a repeat of her previous season. She did not run the 100 hurdles her freshman year. One thing I do want to praise, not only Maya, but also our track coaching staff. The state finals for track this year was one of the most chaotic scenes I've ever seen in high school sports. We went through, Maya is getting down in the blocks to run her 100-meter hurdle finals, and we go into a lightning delay. Nobody can see lightning, nobody can hear thunder. They just announced that there's a lightning delay. So she's already stretched out, she's warmed up, she's ready to go. We go into a lightning delay, and I'm not going to throw any shade anywhere, but it wasn't the most organized situation in the world. They said, we're in a lightning delay, you can go to these buildings, good luck. So we went to the building and were turned away and said, you can't come to this building. Long and short of it is, Maya ended up kind of curled up in a ball in a room where the state wasn't prepared to accommodate this. And I would say she was as compact as that table right in front of us, getting ready to run one of the biggest races in her life. So we come out after the rain delay, which I believe was just under an hour and a half, and we get ready to run the 100-meter hurdles. And I look at the coaching staff and said, guys, my lightning tracker is saying it's actually closer than it was before. I don't know what we're doing. So the state ran the event. She finishes 7th. She's getting ready to go to the podium. The boys are getting ready to run their event. And shockingly enough, no pun intended, we go into another lightning delay. Within 30 minutes, she's run the 100-meter hurdles. She's warmed up for the 100-meter hurdles, run the 100-meter hurdles, and we're back in another lightning delay, and her event isn't for another probably hour and a half after these delays. Just a crazy circumstance. She ends up coming out of the final delay, and we weren't even sure if we were going to get the meet in, and just puts on a clinic and finished runner-up. So sorry for the length of that story there, but I do think the mental discipline and toughness that she displayed throughout that is incredible. Just to touch base, middle school. Middle school only offers one spring sport. Boys track and field finished 6th, girls finished 4th. You see individual accolades there for the girls as far as winning the events. Folk, Johnston, Schnell, and Vagan won their 4x8. Ellie Folk wins the 400-meter dash, and Sarah Johnston with a 800-meter run victory, which got them 66 points between those 5 girls. So remarkable accomplishment for those girls. They had a great conference tournament there. Give some more numbers here, give some more context on our spring and what I'm talking about when you talk about the hit that we took. 49% decrease from spring of 22 to spring of 23 at the high school, and 76% decrease at the middle school level. Those numbers are really terrifying when you look at the longevity of a program. But I give all the credit in the world to our middle school track team and our high school track team, our softball and our baseball, for trying to work with whoever shows up. And we had some kids in each of those sports who had never played before, but they just played it because, which was great. Our numbers needed it, it was awesome, and our coaches and our kids did a great job of working through all that adversity. So just wanted to kind of give the board an update on where we're going. For 2023, 2024, these are just some kind of broader goals, and I'd be glad to talk more specifics in a time where I don't have a time limit on what this looks like. But one thing I really want to do next year is continue to increase our connection with our alumni base and our community members. I come from a small town, very similar to Ross, actually a little bit bigger, and the connection that our alumni have is so critical. And it's not that it's bad, but just to increase it. You can never have too strong of a connection with the people that have paved the way, but also allowing our student athletes to understand the people that have come before them, laid the foundation for where they are. And even if you're not an alumni, engaging the community who are now here. Next step of our department's progress, I guess, is growing the Ross Rams brand. I come from a little bit of a background in collegiate athletics, and the one thing they always talk about is branding. And when you walk out, you should always see the logo. You should know you're on campus. You should feel what it means to be a Ross Ram. And you know, there's ways to do that, you know, it's signage, but there's also ways to brand yourselves in the community and trying to expand that brand. And then finally, and this is more of a long-term, this isn't anything like limited in time, it's just to continue building corporate partnerships. We've had a lot of companies in the past 2 years who have been willing to kind of take leaps of faith on us as far as creative marketing. Westside Driving Academy comes to mind with our partnership with them, where this year we were able to give away 2 driving school vouchers at a football game to a student who kicked a 35-yard field goal, all in trade for marketing for them. So those type of things, it doesn't necessarily mean cash money coming from the businesses to us, but ways to be mutually beneficial partners to our local businesses. Finally, I don't know, I'm getting the Oscars music right now, so I'll finish up here. Just a bunch of thank yous, and these are not individual, these are organizations and groups. Obviously the board, this has been a tough year for everybody, including yourselves, so I appreciate you working with the athletic department in the district to support the athletic program and the importance that it has on our kids and their experience. Parents, similar story. Very difficult year to be a parent, very difficult year with all the different things going on, but I appreciate the flexibility you demonstrated in getting us through. And then that whole group down there together, I'm just gonna group them, our coaches, our boosters, event workers, all the people that make Ross Athletics function. We couldn't do it without you. And then kind of finally, the foundation is our youth organizations. So thank you for all of that, making the 2022-2023 year as positive as it was. With that, I think I hit my time limit, boss.
Perfect, that was good.
Right on.
Great job.
Thanks, Mr. Beck. Mr. Kleinfelder, do you have any questions?
No,
for-
Justin, can you send us a breakdown of like the sport by sport, what the difference was from last year to this year with pay and play?
As far as numbers?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Schnell?
Just congrats on a good year. I know it's difficult for you as well in your position, so with the day-to-day, so well done.
Thank you.
Mrs. Webb? Justin, one thing that was brought to my attention by a community member who's actually in the audience right now, so I don't want to call him out too much, but is just a social media presence and being a lot of events. I mean, covering everything. I know the student athletes really appreciate the tweets out and the recognition, and it's just another way of social media that could be a real positive way. So kudos to that, because I felt like you were somewhere like every second, you know, so kudos to that. So thank you so much. Don't want to get into the details of the collection of the fee, but the Treasurer's Department said that the athletic department did an excellent job. So I know that was a big year-long thing and about almost 100% collection,
I
so
think it was 99.6.
99.6, okay, that's good.
Rounded, it's a.
That's hard, and, but I think you worked with a ton of families, and you did what was best for the kids, and that was a lot put on you, so thank you for that from the board. I'm sure we all appreciate that, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Justin, thank you so much. Go to an event.
Thank you.
So with that being said, we'll take about a 5-minute break here, and we'll reconvene our regular meeting at 7, right at 7 o'clock. Thank you.